So I think it was like 3 weeks ago, maybe a little less, that I complained on my platform about how there's always someone somewhere who's like, hey, Tommy, do another Black Dragon thing. You've named yourself after a Black Dragon. Of course, when Battlezoo Ancestries drops a dragon ancestry, somebody would get in my requests and be like, hey, build a Black Dragon. So, hi, my name is Tommy. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today on Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, we're building a dragon. If you're liking what you're seeing, like, subscribe, ding the bell. I really shouldn't have popped my knuckles before I did all my takes for the week. Damn it. Remember, Patreon gets you Google Sheets with a bunch of builds and a bunch of other cool stuff as well. It's the #1 way to help make sure the channel can keep cranking out these videos for y'all. For now, let's dive in. Okay, so this one's really exciting, actually. This is the first time in a while, honestly, that I've sat down to make a Pathfinder 2nd Edition character, and I've really felt like I was optimizing. Specifically today, we will be optimizing around my favorite thing that they gave dragons in 2nd Edition Pathfinder, short of us building a green dragon, then making people make fort saves, I guess. But Draconic Momentum. When we use our Draconic Frenzy ability, which we'll get to in just a second, it instantly recharges our Dragon Breath. We're able to use it again without waiting rounds for it to go off. That, of course, assuming we get a critical hit. Draconic Frenzy, for 2 actions, lets us strike 3 times with a combination of our claws, our jaws, and anything else we might have stapled onto our draconic selves. At most, one of these attacks can be from each of those, and at most 2 of them can be from your claws or wings. Having a pseudo haste built in that then allows us to afterwards recharge a thing that we can pop presumably next turn, to hit several people in the room, to theoretically proc an acid weakness should it happen to exist. Mechanically today we would like to critically hit a lot, and therefore we're going to be building around a class that gets real good proficiency. Why, yes, we are building a fighter. However, stapled onto that, we will also be taking the Draconic Diehard class archetype. This takes away our ability to use weapons, armor, activating or benefiting from any permanent magic item, which, I don't know how I'm very proud about my Draconic heritage so much that I won't wear my loot on me, I feel. But I guess in 2nd Edition, losing out on a bonus to your strength and an item bonus to things at the end of the game isn't as bad as in other editions. In return, we get access to the Draconic Ravager archetype at level 1. This is a free archetype build, they all are. It's real awkward that means we essentially skip a feat at level 2, but it's fine. That plus this makes our bite do 1d10 damage. We're trained in medium armor, so we get sturdy scales for free as well, being very set to go in-house. Once again, we'll be grabbing Megafauna Hunter for Titan Wrestler to make sure we can always grab up. Eventually, this is literally not going to be a problem, unless your GM wants to break out the Colossal Minis from their very old collection, in which case, good luck, friend. For our starting ability scores, we're looking at a strength of 18. We definitely lift. A dex of 12, enough to squirm around in our sturdy scales. A con of 16. We're a dragon. I bet they're gonna attack us. Int and Chaw of 10 and a Wiz of 12. We're grabbing very liberally from our archetypes this time, so rather than do the class feats then the archetype feats, I'm just gonna hit them by level because they go all the frick over the place. At level 1 we'll take power attack to how do I say this the most funny, to bite them real good for more damage and make them dead, right? That one seems pretty self-explanatory to me. Then at level 2, combat grab, because we're always gonna have a hand free because we're just a giant natural attack machine. For 1 action, make a melee strike, bite someone, while keeping 1 hand free. If the strike hits, you grab the target using one of your claws. They remain grabbed until the end of your next turn, or until they escape, to make them flat-footed, to make them easier to critically hit later. At level 4, we'll grab Draconic Advance. This allows us to stride twice. If we end our movement within melee reach of at least 1 enemy, we can try to bite at them. Don't call it Sudden Charge. We could have taken Sudden Charge, but I wanted to grab this here, alongside Breath of the Dragon, which will give us the Dragon Breath feat, except we do d6s instead of d4s for damage. If we have Deep Breath, it increases the damage to twice as many d6s instead of twice as many d4s. If you already had Dragon Breath, and we'll take that as our first level Ancestry feat, immediately we'll retrain it out. I really like that. I like the language baked into things like this that says just straight up, yeah, no, go ahead, change it. You don't need that anymore. It's all good. Furious Focus at level 6. to have power attack count as 1 attack towards the map instead of 2. There are some feats throughout the Ravager dedication we could take that do similar, but this will do just fine. I think they're gonna end up dead, don't worry about it. Impenetrable scales. Turns our scales into plate mail. A +5 item bonus to AC, a +1 dex cap, a -3 check penalty, -10 foot speed penalty, and strength score of 18. We also gain the armor specialization from the plate armor group when we do this, which gives us 2 plus our scales potency rune, because in fact we're choosing to make it heavy armor. Level 8, we will grab both Draconic Momentum and Draconic Frenzy for that sweet, we're gonna run into a bunch of things, we're gonna attack a bunch of things. Let me take this moment. Actually, in the Battle Zoo Ancestries Dragon book, you know, I tend to think this might be a little bit stronger than the things that exist at the table currently. As someone who's been GMing and GMing editions where you could do crazier things than this for a very long time, I see this and I think, oh, wow, oh man, one of my players could do this and they could just rip to shreds anything I throw at them. I could turn up the heat a little bit against them, knowing that my players who come to me are going to support their parties and make sure that everyone is okay and everyone is taken care of and everybody gets stuff. As a GM, I think my favorite feeling in the world is that knowledge of, yes, they've figured it out. Now we can turn up the heat. I'm gonna circle back to the Ancestry feats in a little while, but we're gonna take Dive and Exhale as well. Once per day for 2 actions, you fly 15 feet up, fly in a straight line to an empty space of your choice on the ground within 60 feet. You breath weapon around the spot for twice as many die of damage as normal to all creatures within a 10-foot emanation of where you slam into the ground. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring lately. This really feels like when the boss jumps up and is about to slam down into you and then nuke people. It also lets you set up because then everyone's all right next to you and you can just frenzy off and take out the rest of any threats that might exist. At level 10, we'll grab Empowered Size for a permanent large and Combat Reflexes for an extra reaction to use for attack of opportunity. We're gonna be real big throughout this character's career, meaning it's considerably more likely folks are going to be moving through our threat ranges, meaning it's going to be considerably more likely we're gonna want to try to bite them and just repeat that terrifying loop. At level 12, we'll grab Ancient Size. Oops, you're now huge. With Lashing Tail, another reaction alongside it. When you take your Ravager dedication, make sure you choose Tail as one of your unarmed attacks. When a creature within 15 feet of you now uses an action to strike or attempts a skill check, you make a tail strike against the triggering creature. If you hit, the creature takes a -2 circumstance penalty to the triggering roll, which ostensibly is a 3rd attack of opportunity in a round with a different trigger that has a different thing. Not only will we deal tail damage, we'll impose a -2 circumstance penalty to presumably that guy who dares to swing at you, and then you murder him next turn. We're getting ahead of ourselves. At level 14, Gather Frenzy. For 1 action, if your next action is Draconic Frenzy, all strikes you make gain a status bonus to damage equal to the number of weapon damage dice and the ignored amount of resistance equal to your level. For more damage, go good, swing lots, right? This build is so cool, but it's also so just like press button, who's alive still? You all, okay, breath weapon, and then leather, rinse, repeat. Draconic Reflexes alongside this. At the start of each of our turns, when we regain our actions, we gain an additional reaction, which can be used in our case only for Lashing Tail. This, I'm definitely using one of these as a boss monster. That's so many reactions. That's so fucking tight. You swing at me? Nope, can't do that. You move around? Nope, can't do that. You dare to make a skill check. Why are you recalling knowledge about me? Tail slap. We will next grab Aura of Fear, which creates a 30-foot aura that indeed scares those who dare to get too close to you. Any foe who enters the aura must attempt a will save against your class DC or become Frightened 1 or Frightened 2 on a critical failure. Starting off debuffed. You love it. Alongside that, towards the end of the game, because if you made it this far, why not? A Barbarian dedication looks real good when we want to get mad and swing our bodies around and murder people. Then at 18th, Worm's Size turns you to a gargantuan entity. Good God. With a reach of 20 feet. That's a lot of people in your threat range in a lot of encounters. And also that's, I think, the first time I've seen a permanently gargantuan player character ever in my time in tabletop role-playing. That's Fucking spicy. No Escape from the Barbarian comes next because we're really fast and really big and we want to keep people on our threat ranges. Easy peasy. Then at level 20, Boundless Reprisals from the Fighter will give us even more reactions. Then alongside that, I think Tangle of Battle from the Barbarian. When you critically hit an adjacent enemy, you attempt to grapple them. Things are probably going to have to get adjacent to you. That may not always be the case. You probably will fight large and huge things as well. But honestly, on some battlefields, if you're gargantuan and they're huge, y'all are probably adjacent just because there's no goddamn room anywhere. So when our legendary bite hits the option to then grab and debuff and go again, real spicy. For our ancestry feats, as I always do at my tables with flying PCs, looking at everything else that this thing can get up to, balancing the aspect of permanent flight is just not something I'm overly concerned about, TBH. You can follow this card right up here if you'd like to hear more about that. I'm going to assume that we begin play with a fly speed of 15 feet. Out the gate, Dragon Breath gives us our tiny D4 breath weapon. It's something to start. The Lux Eterna's early stages are rough. We all know what it is. At level 5, Practiced Flight, because we have a fly speed, should just slap us on a plus 5 foot status bonus to our fly speed. Make sure you train acrobatics so that bonus then goes up. Then, like we said, Dive and Exhale to position yourself, hit a bunch of people with acid damage, and then get ready to tear into them. Dragon's Flight gives us a fly speed equal to our speed, padding it out just a little bit. And then lastly, Stabilized Mass removes the clumsy condition from being very large. The general feats are Toughness, Die Hard, Incredible Initiative, Fleet, and Candy Acumen for your will save. Those are nowhere near as exciting as everything else we're getting up to. Now, there aren't any key items for this one because we can't hold any. This one's daunting. This one's real big. This is definitely a build, and I think the first time in 2nd edition that I've said that this is a build that is better than everything that exists. This has the ability to just go off and do a lot of damage and then recharge per day abilities that a lot of other classes are relying on focus points for. Gets a lot of reactions, gets like an attack of opportunity, yes, and becomes so fucking enormous that you have battlefield control like you did in older editions of the game. That's probably why I like this so much. But balancing this one can be a bear. The first and foremost thing I always say when I see things like this is that as GMs, I think it's important to remember that when this goes off in very stressful situations, that player, unless they're using this build as a cudgel to like beat the AP over your head, in which case that player sucks. They're gonna have a lot of fun when all of those dice come down and, oh god, here was this horrible, terrifying, bad thing that was going to happen, and now I've cleared it. The power fantasy is real, and this one will definitely get there. But remember, a dragon moving around in humanoid society is probably going to generate a certain amount of talk, shall we say. And from that talk comes beings that are prepping to fight them. The bad guys know, in our case, that they're going to fight a black dragon. They should probably hedge their bets against acid damage. They should stay in areas with relatively low ceilings. As time goes on, I'm sure there will be more content released for Pathfinder 2nd Edition specifically against dragons. Get all of that stuff. On the party side of things, since 2nd Edition Pathfinder, though I don't super enjoy it, often incentivizes us to build like it's an MMO, I think we can very much consider that we've taken melee damage and tank and put them together into one very terrifying engine of destruction, which frees up the players to make a lot of choices that I feel like you wouldn't make in a lot of campaigns. Now, granted, this is going to come with a certain amount of GM prep because you're going to want the battles to start from a little bit longer range. But if the world, whether this being at the beginning of your career or later on when you're in like a new part of the world and folks don't know who you are, suddenly see a dragon drop out of the sky and into their camp, they're probably going to be focused on that, which leaves things like rangers or spellcasters with long range spells the ability to use those long range abilities while being almost always in relative safety while the Hulk smashes. This also is a wonderful distraction for anyone and everyone who wants to sneak around, steal things, grab things that are important to the advancement of the plot, because again, from like level 10, level 12, when you're very large and have a lot of reactions and can fly, just set yourself in the middle of them, go nuts, live your best life, turn the critical hits against you into just normal hits. It's super spicy, and it's the special kind of spice that gives players access to options that you don't normally take in games, which I think is even better. But that's all the time I have for this one. What do y'all think? What's your favorite dragon out of the Battle Zoo Ancestries book? How have you rolled them up? Let me know down in the comments. I don't know who out there watches them, but shout out to Mark Seifter and everybody else who worked on this project. This is so cool. I wasn't expecting to see all the 1E dragons get statted into 2nd edition, and I'm very happy that I have. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.